before we begin with studying biology, let me try to understand what are your hurdles in the subject. So Zed, how
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
like biology as a subject?
So biology is like basically about like memorizing, memorizing.
Yeah.
So my memorization is good, and yeah.
So
So
yeah.
it's it's basically easy from 11th. I thought like that.
Mhm.
They discussed in school like it's easy from 12th is easy from like biology is basically easy from 11th in 12th. So
Comparing,
I
so
yeah compare.
comparatively to 11th, you find
Yeah,
12th easier.
yeah, they discuss like that.
Yeah.
So maybe.
Yes, yes, right. So one point that you said that there is lot to learn in biology, right?
Yeah,
And for that, someone like you who has a good grasping power can do well in biology. But
yes.
you know, I was very bad at memorizing stuffs, and I ended up doing biological research. So I realized over time that you know we only have to memorize biology when we do not, you know, understand the concept like a story. We never have to memorize songs or movies for that matter, right? Because they
Yes.
just get into our head and they stay there as a story, correct?
Hmm.
Biology is also a story of life. Anything and every concept that we will study, we will discuss it to the point where it will boil down into your mind as a memory. So you do not have to then memorize it putting extra efforts. Okay, then so
Okay.
it makes it fluent and easier. And if I can do it with by doing research, and I think Zaid being a biotechnologist, if you wish to become so, you will somewhere venture into research because the whole point of biotechnologists is to innovate things and replace the outdated things
Yes.
in the system. Yes, and for Hiba also, Hiba, because you wish to become a doctor. So for doctors have to learn a lot. You know, a lot of things have to be in your head all the time. And if you just rely on your memory, if you just rely on memorizing those things, most of those things will just go out. So memory works this way. The difference between a human mind and a computer is that a computer can store whatever you store in a computer, whether it is gibberish, it is a workable data, or is it's a nonsense data. It stays the same. It stays stored, right? Even if I write
Yes.
something on a scribble something on a page and save that page as a Word document, that page will stay there in the computer for years, correct? Until I delete it. But for a human mind, it's different. Because our mind is there because it allows us to live and be what we are, it only focuses on things that matters to us. So we say that, being from neuroscience, we say that in brain, pathways which are used gets consolidated and pathways that are not used gets eliminated. So you cannot keep revising everything all the time, correct? Right, Eba? So
Yes, sir.
you have to understand certain things. So you both, for both of you, one thing which is important is that there are many terminologies in biology which are important. You know, biology is, it starts with, so there are two type of questions that we ask in biology, whether it is board examination, school, or entrances, or even research. We ask what and we ask how. You know, we never ask why in biology because that doesn't make sense. If you ask why humans are humans, it doesn't make any sense. You know, we are humans. But what are humans and how are we humans, or how did we evolve as humans? This makes sense. And in science also, we ask what and how. The what part of biology becomes easier, which is the part that students often have to memorize. It becomes easier through this. If we understand the terminology means, the word logy means, what does the word logy means? Logy, biology, terminology, theology,
Study.
zoology. Yes, it means study. And the word term means word.
Word.
So terminology is the study of words itself. So if you understand the word, there are many biological technical words. If you understand those words, you understand the what part to some extent. Now what's left then is how. Okay, and that in my classes we'll try to cover both. We'll try to cover both as much as we can, but you have to make a copy for this class, a fresh copy, a fresh notebook, and leave the first 3-4 pages of that notebook empty, because what you're going to do on that page is you will make a section, you will make a division in the middle. On one side write terminology, and on the other side write meaning. So over the course of time, as we will go deeper and deeper into the syllabus, by the time we reach the end of the syllabus, almost every word that is important for you to do good in boards and to do good in entrances will be covered. So it will be like your own mini biology dictionary. Okay, clear? You understand what I'm trying to say, both of you?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So you can start this from today's class onwards. And let me tell you what is the significance of doing this is because you all have read a word called cytoplasm in biology, right? Cytoplasm?
Yes.
What is the word cytoplasm? What is cytoplasm? Is the definition? Anyone? Can you define cytoplasm?
It is the liquid, or it is present inside the cell, surrounded by like a it surrounds the nucleus and other organelles of the cell.
Yes, right. So it's the fluid of the cell which surrounds the nucleus and is itself surrounded by a plasma membrane, right? Now in this word, it is a proper biological word. In this word, the word cyto comes from the word cell. Anywhere in biology, the word cyto means cell or related to cell, and the word plasm or plasma means fluid. Okay, so if you understand that the word cyto comes for cell and the word plasma comes for fluid, so if I ask you, there is a word called cytokinesis. This also you must have read, right?
Yes.
What is cytokinesis?
Formation of like a division of cytoplasms when there is a mitotic division or meiotic division.
Correct. The word cyto again means cell, and the word kinesis means breakdown or division. You break down into two things or you divide into two things, breakdown or division. So clearly cytokinesis means the division of the cell simply. So if you understand the words, you understand the what part of it. What are we talking about? Now how it happens, what is the mechanism, that is the story of biology. So you understand, these are just two easiest examples that I used. There'll be many such words which are very, very complicated. But once you understand the meanings, it becomes very easy to understand the biology. So you appreciate what I was trying to tell you? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So this is first thing that you will do. And the other thing was that it has to be a dialogue, which I am happy that it is already. Hiba, you also need to speak up. You just see, in my classes, the worst that can happen is you or me can be wrong. You know, we can state something wrong because we are human. So we can state something wrong, but that's okay. That is no damage done. We will discuss and we'll come to the right point. Okay, Hiba?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So before we begin with reproduction, I would like to just ask, because I asked Zed, but I did not ask the question to Hiba. Hiba, how do you like biology? How do you find the subject? Is it easy, difficult?
It is easy to me.
It's easy to you, right? That's why you want to become a doctor.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it's a suggestion that, see, whoever aims to become a doctor, naturally their biology is stronger or they are more inclined towards biology. But you know that there is one hard truth about becoming a doctor is that you have to give an entrance. You have to clear an entrance, right?
Yes, sir.
And though biology weighs 50% for a medical entrance, but the rest 50% comes from chemistry and physics. That often would be doctors are a little weak at. So how is it? How's your chemistry and physics? You like those subjects?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good. Because before you become a doctor, you need all the three. After you become a doctor, you have to apply whatever biology you have learned along with chemistry, of course. Yes. Okay, so let me ask you both a question. Okay, here we are starting the class for today. When you hear the word biology, both of you, what is the first term, the parallel term that comes in your mind? Zed.
Study of you organisms.
Organisms. So you said study of organisms. And Hiba?
Sir, the same thing.
Same.
Yes, sir.
You can virtually give each other a same pinch. What is the second word that comes to your mind, Hiba? Because the first one is taken by Zed already. So what is the second word that comes to your mind, which is not same? Study of organisms. Anything else? Because bio, what does the word bio means? The word bio itself has a meaning. The word logy means study, correct?
Bio means I think living or something.
Bio means life.
Life.
Anything derived from life. Life, living, alive. You can see all the words. So it's the study of life, which you put correctly as study of organisms, which also comes in Hiba's mind when she looked at the word biology. Now, correct. All we have to do here is study either life or the system in which life is present, and that system is called a living system, and we often in our normal language call it an organism. Okay, now there are all different kinds of organism about which you have already studied in class 11th, the classification chapter. Okay, is it clear, the classification chapter to both of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Five kingdom classification. Perfect. So if at any given point of time you feel that whatever we are discussing, the link of class 11th of that portion is not very clear in your head, please stop me right there, and do not think that because we are studying 12th class, so you are not allowed to ask questions from 11th. Okay, we are studying biology. Okay, so you can ask, you can stop and ask at any given point of time. Do not let me move forward until and unless we all are at the same page. Okay, I don't know. Is the barking of the dog very irritating?
No. It's okay.
Biology. Can't do anything. You can just close the door. Let me just close the door for you. Allow me.
Okay.
Allow me just 1 moment. It will be a little better now, right? Okay, so in class 12th, we start from where we left in class 11th. So if you'll see your NCRT, the first unit is not unit 1, it is the unit 6th, correct? The first chapter comes in unit 6. 5 units you have already studied in class 11th. So it already tells you that it is a continuum. Now, in this chapter, we have to start with reproduction. Okay. But before we begin with reproduction, you all must have studied a term called life processes. Remember studying life
Yes, sir.
processes in class 11th? What is a life process? A quick brush up. Hiba, this time. Hiba, what do you understand by life process? And just because I'm asking you questions, if you are not clear about it, you have all the rights to say ki that concept is not clear to you. Okay. So either I'll explain it or I'll ask someone else. Hiba, do you understand what is a life process? Yeah. Yes, you are unmute. You have muted yourself again.
So the basic process of life.
It's the basic process of life. What do we mean by that? Zed, would you like to elaborate that? The basic process of life. What does this mean? What do you understand?
Like basically it means like from like a birth of organism to the death of the organism, what the organism does in the whole process, like including respiration, reproduction, and everything.
Right. So let's take an example of an organism called human beings. So from our birth to our death, we do processes like playing video games, going to school, attending classes. Are these life processes?
No, sir.
No.
Like these are processes, but
I'm
not
just
life
trying to
processes.
push you. I'm just trying to push you towards the best answer. Okay.
Yes, sir.
I hope, yes. So we understood, you understood that we have to exclude certain processes out of. So whatever an organism does from birth to death cannot be called a life process. But yes, these are
Yes.
processes done by living systems. But which processes?
Like growth, respiration, we can say digestion,
Yes.
then excretion,
Right.
reproduction. Yeah.
So if I put your answer in, like if I give some good words to your answer, can I say that life processes are those processes which are important for the maintenance and sustenance of life of an organism?
Yes, yes,
Right? From its birth to death, all those functions which it does to maintain and sustain the life are called life processes. Correct?
yeah.
Yeah. Getting educated is not necessary to stay alive. It's necessary to become a, a human, contributing human to the natural world around us and also to the physical world that we have created. But you're right, life processes involves everything that you have named. Now, is reproduction a life process? Did you study reproduction in life process?
Yes, sir. Reproduction is a life process.
Yes, perfect. Reproduction is a life process because it is carried out by living systems. Okay. You also must have studied another word, another term. Now, this term is often asked in entrances, that is called defining characteristic of life. Defining characteristic. What do you understand by defining characteristic of life? Defining characteristic property of life. Remember this term, defining characteristic property. Life process is anything that living systems do to keep their systems alive and to survive. Now, there are some things called defining characteristic properties of life. Any idea about this? When I say defining, when I say something is defining characteristic, it means something without which life will not sustain. It will just perish instantaneously. If I take out that characteristic out of life, life will just go away.
Yeah, like we can include it in like a respiration. Without respiration, organism will die. Reproduction, life. Without reproduction, species will end. And next, we can include. I'm getting to.
So you beautifully included two things. One was respiration and the other was reproduction. So you said that without respiration, no life can survive, right? Not even a single cell bacteria can survive without respiration.
No, no. Some species are there, but majority of the species they can't survive without respiration.
Uh, which species can survive without respiration?
I think in bacteria,
Bacteria don't respire. Hiba, would you like to come in? Do you think bacteria don't do respiration?
Yes.
I think Hiba is getting a lag in my voice. So she's respond. Hiba, you are responding a little late. Are you able to hear my voice clearly without a lag?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So do you think bacteria do not do respiration?
Yes, sir, they do.
They do. So what is, now we come to the point, what is respiration then? Let's just take a little detour to understand what is respiration. Then what do you understand by respiration when you said that bacteria do not respire?
Bacteria, maybe I don't know. Okay. Maybe not.
Yes. There are two things. One is breathing. Probably you mistook breathing for respiration.
Yeah.
So you mean to say that bacteria do not breathe like us, but they are still alive. But respiration is a cellular process. You know, it's
Yeah,
not
metabolic.
it's not a physical process. It's a physiological process. It comes under metabolic activities of the cell.
Yes.
Respiration is breakdown of glucose in the presence of oxygen to produce energy in a cell. And every cell has to do that. Otherwise, they will not get energy to even do basic processes like protein synthesis. So even bacteria do respiration. So you are correct. If there would have been organisms that could have lived without respiration, then we will not have called respiration as a defining characteristic property of life. Is it now clear, Zed?
Yes, sir, clear.
We call it a defining property because it is defining, it defines life. No respiration, no life, not any form of life. Okay. But what about reproduction? Is reproduction a defining characteristic property of life? What do you think? Think first. Is reproduction a defining characteristic property of life? This is the first basic that you have to understand
Yes.
about reproduction. Yes?
Yeah.
And do you justify your answer? Why do you think so?
If this species want to survive, then maybe
Reproduction is important.
So-
It's very simple. If you have to keep the species going, you need to reproduce. Otherwise, there will be no species after the generation dies. But I am asking, is reproduction a defining characteristic property of life? And whenever I ask this question, taking anything as a subject, you have to ask yourself, what if I take reproduction out of living systems? So if living systems do not reproduce, will they die?
no, for an extent of time they will not die, but after that time
They will not at all die. Like they will live
Yeah,
their
not at
life
all.
and die, but they will not have progenies. They will not have a generation to follow.
Yeah,
They
they
will
won't
not
have the
die.
offsprings. Yeah.
Yes. So there are many organisms in nature which are sterile. They cannot reproduce. Even sometimes infertile humans are also there who cannot reproduce, cannot bear a child, but they are living, right?
Yes.
There are sterile worker bees and there are sterile animals like mules, hybrids that do not reproduce, but they are very well alive. So reproduction is a life process, correct? But it is not a defining characteristic property of life. Is this simple thing clear to both of you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Now we can move forward. So we already know that maintenance of the individual. So what it is important for? Write down. Let's define it. Write down. Let's first define what is reproduction. Anyone would like to define what is reproduction? Let's come to the terminology again. Reproduction. What does the word re means? Re. The word re means something.
Repeating something repeats.
Yes, repeat, re-examination,
Reoccurring.
resubmissions, right? Re means to repeat or to do something again. Okay, again or repeat. And production means,
To produce something.
yes, to produce, or to very simply in plain English, to make something, correct? So
Yes.
reproduction means we are making something again. We means whoever is doing reproduction is making something again. Now, what are they making is the how part. So what is already clear just by the term, right? Now write down, let's define reproduction. Reproduction is the process by which an organism produces offsprings. Offsprings is a biological term for the next generation, you know, kids, babies, little ones, these are all non-biological terms. Okay, offspring means it could be anything. It does not have to be a baby or a male or a female. It could be a plant, a bacteria, anything which comes from the parent cell or parent organism. So organisms produce offspring. What did I say? Can someone repeat? Sorry.
Reproduction is the process of formation of new offsprings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Reproduction is the process by which organisms produce
New
offsprings which are similar to the parents, organism in its adult form. Now, what do you understand? Let me write it. Similar to parent organism in its adult form. Now, the question here is, it's a very nitpicky question, but important for entrances. Why did I use the word adult here?
Because in some organisms like starfish or other organisms, they at the age of that at the age of after coming to adult age, they become like their parents or pre-existing organisms.
Yes. So before that age, they do not look like their parents.
Yeah, they do.
So what Zaid means to say is that there are organisms in which the mode of development is indirect. So I use the term adult. Sorry. Yes. I use the term adult here to specifically pay attention to the point that there are two types of developments in organisms. Development is the process in which the organism is developing after giving birth. Okay. So there are two type of births, like there are two ways by which organisms can come out into the world, as eggs or as babies. Yes, right? Young ones. You all know it?
Yes.
If an organism is laying egg laying, what is that organism called? Write down these terms because they are important. It's called oviparous. Oviparous. Oviparous organisms lay eggs. And how to remember it? There is a trick. The word O looks like an egg, right? Oviparous means egg laying. And the organisms which gives birth are called viviparous. Okay, viviparous. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Sure.
So there are two types. So either an organism can come as an egg or can come as an organism like live birth. But after that it develops, and that development could be of two types. It could be a direct development. Now let's understand these terms first because it's significant. Or it could be indirect development. With direct development, I mean right from the birth, the organism looks like the parents. Okay, right from day one. For example, humans. So humans have a direct development, correct? A human baby is small, but it looks like a human, correct? It is just a small little human with small feet, small hands, small everything. The overall structure, the anatomy and the physiology, everything is small, but every organ is present right from the birth, which is present in the adult also, correct?
Yes, sir.
There are some differences. You can say that, you know, the bones are different. Babies have more bones which get fused together, but that is just a slight deviation. But overall, the development is direct. It looks like the adult form. But in other cases, okay, and we will start making a habit of trying to remember as many scientific names as we can, because now you are in class 12th. After 12th, you will be sitting for entrances, and most of the time the questions in entrances use scientific names, biological. The you must have read biological classification, the nomenclature, binomial nomenclature,
Yes, sir.
right? So what are humans called?
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens. The word homo means wise, and the word sapiens means men, like human. Not, it should not be men, because you know there are women also. Lot of terms which were a product of patriarchal English language are now being changed around the globe, and I always encourage my students to use this. So instead of mankind, we all should say humankind, because it's not just the mankind. Women can equally claim that there is womankind also. So it's better to say humankind, you know. And Homo sapiens is wise humans. So the Homo here is for genus and sapiens here is for species. You all know this. You both know this clearly, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now there are indirect development examples. For example, butterfly. You all have seen a butterfly. Butterfly
Yes,
lay
sir.
eggs. And what comes out of the egg is not a butterfly. What comes out of the egg?
Larva.
Larvae.
Larva.
Yes.
Yeah.
So larvae come out of the eggs. And what does a larva looks like? Does it look like a butterfly?
No, sir. It looks like a caterpillar.
It is a caterpillar.
Yeah,
The
it's a
larva
caterpillar.
of butterfly is called caterpillar. It does
Yeah.
not looks like a caterpillar. Okay.
Hmm.
That is the name. Caterpillar means the larva of butterfly, and moths. They are both called caterpillars. They look like worms, right? Like earthworm. Earthworm is a worm. They wriggle and move like worms, correct, Hiba?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now that worm over time do something, try to eat a lot and become very, very fat, and then enclose itself around a cocoon and becomes a pupa, right? So egg, larva, the third stage is pupa, which is the cocoon of butterflies through which we get silk. Remember silkworms? They are caterpillars. If we do not kill the silkworm, they will become something after they eclose out of it. But we just kill them for silk. So that is the cocoon phase, the pupa phase. And when the pupa breaks apart after some time, from inside comes the butterfly. So larva was like a worm, and butterfly has splendid wings and legs and head and everything of an insect. So that is called a indirect developmental plan. Okay. And in an indirect developmental plan, that changes that happens at every stage from egg to larva, larva to pupa, pupa to adult, that is called metamorphosis. Just remember this word, metamorphosis. It's also known as molting. These are physical changes, physiological changes, physical, physiological, and anatomical. All three types of changes happen. And it's like the organism transforms from something to something entirely different. Okay, in looks and also in anatomy. So the word morph here, always remember, and you can write all these words to your terminology section. The word morph, wherever the word morphology or morph comes, remember that it is always related to appearance, the physical appearance that we can see. Okay. So if I ask you morphological characters of a plant, you are going to tell me about what was the shape of the leaf, what was the color of the flowers, how many petals were there, the branch was thick or thin, green or brown. You understand?
Yes.
But if I ask you the anatomical features of a plant or any organism, you are going to tell me what we cannot see, what is inside, like the xylem, phloem structure, the veins in the leaf, midrib, etc. You understand? Anatomy is what is inside that we cannot see. Morphology is what is outside of any organism that we can't see. So morph word is always related to appearance. So metamorphosis means you are changing your appearance. Meta means on a big scale. The word meta means big. You must have heard the word metadata. Nowadays, every company is hungry for metadata. Facebook has a lot of metadata, like big data about anything and everything that we do on internet. So metamorphosis means change in appearance on a very big scale, like total transformation. Will you remember this now? You don't have to memorize it from now onwards, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So indirect development is clear, direct development is clear. In indirect, you can also write frog. Why I'm saying frog? The offsprings of frogs are called tadpoles, remember? And tadpoles look nothing like a frog. What do they look like?
A fish.
Yes, they look like small fish. Okay, cool. Okay, so everything clear till here. We are on the same page. Let's move forward. Now we understood what is reproduction. We understood why we use the term adult in its definition and why it is important. We also understood that what is direct development, what is indirect development, and development is a part of overall reproductive process. Then we also understood there are two types of organisms, egg-laying and those who give birth. Now tell me, what is the significance of reproduction? Why is the process of reproduction significant? Because we already have said that it is not important for the egg, not survival or existence, but for the what is the good word? It's not important for the existence of an organism. Like I can exist without reproducing. In
Yes.
fact, we all are existing till now without reproducing. So what is the significance then? Significance of reproduction. Any answer?
Like it ensures the continuity of species, like generation to generation.
Yes. So it ensures the existence of population, if not individual. Okay. So there are two type of processes. One which ensures the existence of the individual, and one that ensures the existence of species. So even if 20% of the individuals of a species do not reproduce, it's not going to harm the species. Rest 80% can reproduce and can form more individuals, correct? So write down, reproduction ensures the survival, the continuation. Reproduction ensures the continuation of a given species and also affects the population dynamics. And what do I mean by this? Population dynamics means if the population is going to expand or going to contract or is going to stay stable. So if every individual of a population will reproduce, then of course it is going to expand, correct? And it also reproduction also tells us about the expansion on the contraction on the basis of how many individuals at one go a parent can form. Okay, is it clear to both of you?
Yes.
So it ensures continuation of species and it affects the population dynamics, the expansion or the contraction, whatever. But it has no effect on the life of the individual. So significance is done, correct? Perfect. Now let's come to modes or types of reproduction, which is clearly given in your NCERT. What are the two broader types of reproduction? Yes, there.
There are two types of reproduction. First is asexual and second is sexual reproduction.
One is asexual reproduction and the other is sexual reproduction. Perfect. And just going, so we just starting from the very basics. Hiba, can you take us through both? What is the difference between the two? Any one, just one point of difference, the most important which you feel. How will you define, if just in one line, asexual and sexual, stating the difference between the two? Hiba.
Sir, asexual reproduction does not involve the fusion of gametes.
Okay, perfect. Asexual reproduction, according to Hiba, does not involve fusion of gametes. Okay. And fusion of gametes. Good point. And what about sexual reproduction?
It involves the fusion of gametes.
It involves, so there is fusion of gametes happens. Okay. Now we come to a term called gametes here, and I'm assuming you know what is a gamete, but still let me just ask. So what do you understand by the term gamete? What is a gamete? Yeah, because this is the introductory class, so I often like to clear or brush up the basics in introductory class so that we can make the building over the foundation. We can go high. Gamete. What do you understand by gamete, Zed?
Sir, I don't know the basic definition of this.
You don't have to tell me definitions, okay? What do you understand? Did I ask you what is the definition of a gamete? Because a definition is simply a one-liner that you write in words and get 1 mark. I am more interested in knowing what do you understand. You can give me that answer in one long paragraph.
Yeah, gametes are basically unit. No, what?
Gametes are basically
Reproductive unit of an organism, whether it be male or female, which participate in reproduction and produces an offspring.
Yes. So you are
Or zygote.
yes. So you used certain terms which I wanted you to use. I thought you will be using, which will open up the discussion. So you said that gametes are the reproductive units, right? Like we say, cell is the fundamental and structural unit of life. And gametes are the fundamental and structural units of reproduction, you say, correct? Now my question is, is gamete unicellular or multicellular?
Gametes are unicellular.
Yes, they are single cells. Perfect.
Yeah.
And you also must, do you know, the both of you, do you know what do we mean by haploid and diploid?
Yes, sir.
What is haploid?
Haploids, when there is a meiotic division, then haploid cells are formed, and when there is a mitotic division, diploid cells are formed. So basically,
you told me
2N, like sorry. In haploid, sorry. In haploid cells, or they are having half number of chromosomes. If there is 2n number of chromosomes, then it will be n number of chromosomes in haploid. So yeah.
Okay. And diploid?
And in diploid, it will be 2n chromosomes. Like how much chromosomes were in the pre-existing organisms, the same will be in the offsprings.
I really like, I really could see Zaid trying to give the best answer, which is there in his head, but he's not just able to articulate it. You will be like with the, as the class. See, this is what discussion does. Okay.
Yes.
If I keep giving you best answers time over time, I have been teaching multiple batches from last 6 years. So, of course I will articulate it better. But the point here is you people are paying. So you should learn to articulate it better, right? Than me.
Yes.
So you struggled, but you brought in a very important point. So let me tell you very simply, from now onwards, you will remember the word ploidy, the word ploid. You can write it in your terminology section. The word ploid or ploidy means copy of genome. Okay. Copy of genome. Now we all have a genome, right? Genome is the overall blueprint of our life, which is present in each and every cell inside the nucleus. If it is a eukaryotic cell, if it is a prokaryotic cell, it does not have a nucleus, but still there is DNA inside, right? In nucleoid, DNA is a thread, is a long thread which contains. So here I will take some time to discuss DNA. I think you both are okay with it.
Yes.
Let's just discuss DNA. DNA is a very important thing. What is DNA? DNA, we all know that DNA is there in our each and every cells. And you use the word chromosome. Okay, I'll come to that. So this DNA and all the DNA that we have in our cell, in a single cell, all that DNA is our genome. Okay. And ploidy means copy of genome. And if the term is haploid, it means one copy of genome. Is it clear, Zaid? So
yes.
From now onwards, you can just say a haploid cell has just one copy of its full genome. The word diploid, the word di means?
2.
2, perfect. And the word ploidy means?
Copy of genome.
So diploid means?
2 copies of genome.
Any cell which has 2 copies of its genome is called a diploid.
Okay.
Perfect. If I keep, because if it becomes this easier for you, then no question is difficult. Because if I ask you what do you mean by tetraploid?
4 copies of genome.
Perfect. Hexaploid?
What? Hexa means 6. Yeah. So 6 copies of genome.
Yes. So it's clear?
Yeah.
Tetraploid, hexaploid, octaploid, whatever ploid is there, you know that it talks about the copy of genome. Okay. So you do not have to tell about half the number, full the number, twice the number. Just say copy of genome. Yes, Hiba, you wanted to ask something? You unmuted yourself.
No, sir.
Yes. Yeah, you wanted to ask something or not?
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So you understand haploid, diploid, tetraploid, all these?
Yes, sir.
Yes, it's the copy of genome. Now haploid is a single copy of genome. So all the gametes are haploid, right? because because all gametes, the function of gamete, like you said, Zed, it's the functional unit of reproduction. And in a reproduction, we have to give a copy of the genome to the next organism, which will be formed. So one gamete comes from the father in a sexual reproduction, because only in sexual reproduction there is a fusion of gametes. When we say fusion, which means two gametes are meeting together. So let's say the gamete of male gamete in a human, let's take an example of humans, are called, this is the symbol for male gametes are called spermatozoa. Okay, in short, they are called sperms. They are cells, and they are highly motile cells. These cells have a head structure and they have a tail structures which wiggles very fast. Okay, it's like a whiplash movement. It's not like the movement of a snake. It's not zigzag movement. It's whiplash. So if you follow the tip of my finger, so this is a zigzag movement, like a snake moves like this, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if you imagine it in 3D, this is a whiplash movement. You understand?
A circle making.
Circle, yes, you are making a circle, but also moving spirally forward.
Yeah.
That's a whiplash movement. This is how sperms move. Okay, because many of the cartoons and animations that I have seen, they represent it wrong. So you should know, to make a whiplash movement, the tail has to get lots and lots of energy. So sperm is a highly motile gamete, and the female gamete is known as, it can either be called ovum, or in biology it's called oocyte. Okay, in normal terms we also call it egg cell.
But so what is the meaning of secondary oocyte?
Yes, we'll come to that. And so good question. Can we hold this question up till we reach sexual reproduction in humans?
Yes, sir.
Well, otherwise, anyways, we have to cover that in detail, and we also have to learn about how are they formed, the whole process of gamete formation. Okay, just to give you the context of the power of terminology, if I say, what do I mean by gametogenesis? One marker question, you know nothing about it. Can you tell me what is gametogenesis?
Formation of gametes.
Perfect. Formation or synthesis of gametes. So gametogenesis is the process by which gametes are formed in any organism. You get full marks. Did you had to learn this?
No.
Just understand what is gamete and what is genesis, right? So I'll be teaching you gametogenesis in detail, the how part, in the sexual reproduction part. Okay, so let's keep this question till there, secondary and primary oocyte. Okay, let's just know that male gametes are called spermatozoa and female gametes are called ovum or oocyte. Okay, now both are haploid, both have to be haploid. Okay. And ovum is stationary. It does not move on its own, as it, like, it moves inside a female tract, but how it moves, I'll tell you about that also. But let's say these both gametes are fusing. So if these two are fusing together, and if they are not haploid, let's assume we could not make haploid. So what is our genome? What is our normal cell? Any human cell, what is the ploidy level? Haploid, diploid, triploid, tetraploid, what is it?
R is diploid, maybe.
Diploid. So we always have two copies, and you can now very well understand why we have two copies, because our gametes are haploid. One copy comes from father and the one copy comes from mother, and the zygote that is formed is, the first cell is called zygote, it is diploid, correct?
Yes.
So we denote the ploidy by N. N denotes haploidy, 2N denotes diploidy, 3N denotes triploidy, 4N denotes tetraploidy. Clear? Now suppose this was not happening. So all our body cells are diploid and our sperm is also diploid, let's say. Then the problem will be, if sperm is diploid and ovum is diploid, then the next generation will be
Tetraploid.
tetraploid. And suppose that tetraploid, again, all the body cells of that tetraploid are tetraploid. So when that tetraploid will form sperms, those sperms will also be
Octaploid. I
tetraploid.
think.
Sperms will
Yeah,
be tetraploid.
Tetraploid.
But when it will reproduce with another organism, another gender, the next generation will be octaploid.
Octaploid. Yeah.
And the next generation will be 16N, then 32N. It will keep on increasing, like I say, arithmetically, right? Like in an arithmetic progression.
Arithmetic progression.
And life cannot survive like that. You know, animal system beyond diploidy is very, very unstable. Either animals are diploid or haploid. Very, very rarely there are cells in animal system which are triploid or tetraploid. Very rare, you know. But and hexaploidy, you cannot just it's not possible. So animal system is not stable when the ploidy level increases. Do you understand?
Yes.
The cell dies. But plant system can tolerate ploidy. That is one very unique difference between an animal system and a plant system. You know, the rice and the maize that we eat, rice, the rice
Yes.
plant,
Rice and
paddy plant is called paddy, the paddy fields. So rice can be tetraploid or hexaploid as a plant. It can have 4 to 6 copies of its genome, and it can very well tolerate it. So that is one difference. Okay. So just to keep the chromosome number equal in every generation of a given species, this process of forming gametes, which is gametogenesis, is very, very crucial. Clear what I say?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So write down the process of gametogenesis in sexual reproduction, and make it a star, because this we will not like take in today's class. You will study this in detail in like after 2-3 classes, but because the topic went here, I am just telling you. Write down the process of gametogenesis is crucial to maintain the equal chromosome number, to maintain equal chromosome number in every generation for a given species. Species, just a singular species. To maintain equal chromosome number in every generation of a given species. Okay, cool.
Okay.
And that is the difference between different species. Different species have different chromosome numbers. That's why they are not compatible. So in class 11th, you must have studied the definition of species. Anyone remembers how did we used to define species? Species are group of organisms that are capable of naturally reproducing and forming a fertile offspring. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So that definition has the backdrop here. This is how that definition came. You know, artificially we can actually make hybrids, and we do make hybrids. You know about mule. Mule is a hybrid of a donkey and a horse, right?
Yes, sir.
It has characteristics from both. It is infertile. It is sterile. It cannot reproduce further because it cannot form gametes. It cannot form sperms or ovum. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes.
Yes. And why it cannot form gametes? Because the chromosome number was not same in a donkey or a horse when we made the hybrid. So when we merged them, there was not equal. The same number of chromosomes was not maintained in the next generation, which was mule. So the next generation is unnatural. It's artificially made to suit the function that we made it for. Like, because it's a hybrid of a donkey and a horse, It is very strong as a horse, but is very docile as a donkey, right? And I think in regional language in India here we call it khachar. What do you people call it?
Yeah, I heard like khachar.
Yeah, right? It's used.
Yeah.
It's used for the labor work.
Mm.
Most of the labor work, and it's small. It's small like a donkey, so it can be easily controlled. You don't need power like which we need to control a horse. A muscular horse is very powerful, and it can take a lot of burden. We also have made hybrids of dogs and cats. You know that, in fact, all the dogs and cats that we get from pet stores are hybrids most of the time. We do not breed natural breeds. Like even if you see a German Shepherd, just to make it more docile or to make it acclimatized to the environment. So where are German Shepherds found?
Maybe in Germany.
Exactly. That's why they're called German Shepherds, right? And Germany is a very cold country.
Yeah, it's a good one.
But you will find German Shepherds even in Africa.
Yeah.
So they have to be crossbreeded or hybrided with some other breed that can tolerate such heat. You will see Persian cats in India or in Gulf.
Yeah, furry Persian cats.
Very, very furry
Yes.
Persian cats. But with
Yeah.
lots and lots of fur, how can they tolerate heat? Right? So we always, and these very cute looking pocket cats and all these different type of cats that the dogs like the Pekingese or the bulldog, like these Chihuahua dogs, all these species you will not find in jungles. You will not find in the wild because they are not wild type species. Do you think that a Chihuahua can compete jackals and leopards in a jungle to find food?
No.
No, it cannot. So these are just hybrids that we are keeping for our purposes of petting. Fine. So whenever we try to break this rule of chromosome equality in the next generation, we have to compromise with certain characters or the organism may not survive. There is a hybrid of tiger and a lion also. It's called liger. Go and find, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I have seen that. Like that.
Yeah. It has hair and also has stripes on the body.
Yes.
It's called liger. Yeah. Cool. So coming forward to, I'm giving you 3 things as assignments. So I'll give you 2 type of assignments. One will be in class assignments that you do not have to submit, but you have to do it yourself in your copies and do it for your honesty and your learning. And the other will be after every class, you will get an assignment that you have to solve and submit back, that I will see to just keep a check on your progress. Okay. They will be easy assignments on a daily basis. Okay. Now, today's assignment is you have to go back and read about, just brush up about meiosis and mitosis. You must be knowing what is a meiosis and what is a mitosis. These are 2 cell division processes. Cell divides either through mitosis or meiosis, correct?
Yes, sir.
But just go and brush up, and we will discuss this in the next class. So write down today's assignment. You have to discuss, you have to go and brush up about meiosis and mitosis before you come to the next class.
So should we learn like anaphase and telophase and like telophase?
Not in detail, because in detail we will cover it when we'll come to spermatogenesis. Okay, I'm just making your foundation before we reach there.
Okay.
Okay. So just the basic differences between the two. Where does mitosis occurs? Where does meiosis occurs? If you want to write down certain things or make a flow chart, do it for yourself. It will be good. Now coming to DNA, chromosome, this I will cover today. So there are certain terms called DNA, chromosome, gene, and alleles. Let's talk about these 4 terms. They are important for reproduction and also for genetics, which genetics you have studied in class 11th, right? Remember Mendelian genetics? Mendel's laws. Was it in your
Yes, sir.
syllabus?
Yes.
Was it?
It was removed maybe, but yeah, studied.
See, the problem is because COVID happened, so they removed certain things from the syllabus thinking that it will help students. But I disagree with that notion because it's not removed from entrances. And it can never be removed from entrances and medical syllabus because that is all life is about. If you do not know genetics, you will not be able to treat a patient, right? Hiba? So how can you think you can become a doctor without studying genetics? And if you think that genetics is important, why are you removing it out of the syllabus? So it's sometimes humans, especially humans who do not belong to from a science backgrounds, and often they make rules for a immediate benefit. We often get into a long-term loss, right? So we'll try to cover up certain portions of genetics because without which we cannot move forward. So let's talk about these four terms today and let's get through this. DNA, chromosome, gene, alleles. Which one do you know? Anyone? Just volunteer. Whichever you know, tell me. Yes, Zed. Which one do you know?
DNA, chromosome.
Which one do you understand? Okay, you understand DNA. Tell me what is DNA?
DNA, it is present inside the chromosome, and
Inside the
if
chromosome.
I'm right,
There is something. Yeah. There is something called chromosome, and you say DNA is
yeah,
inside the chromosome. Okay.
inside the, yeah.
Okay.
I think this part was removed last year. Last year.
Yeah, it was.
And, yeah, right. Yeah, little I remember.
What does
DNA,
DNA stands for? DNA.
dinucleated something. DNA, dinucleated. I don't remember.
Okay. Hiba. But you know DNA. Would you like to complete and help your fellow batchmate here? Quick. We have 15 minutes left for the class. So I would like to cover these 4 points today. Hiba, you are mute if you are speaking. Issues with the mic or something. So you used a word called chromosome and you say DNA chromosome. Now let me tell you, DNA in fact half of the chromosome. So nucleic acid. Write it down. D N A. Deoxyribo. Is it clear?
Yes.
And as the word tells you, deoxy means there is
Oxygen is not present.
yes, there is one position oxygenated blood. The word deoxy means same everywhere. If I call it deoxygenated blood, it means blood which do not nucleic acid. The ribonucleic acid from oxygen is taken out. Correct. So ribo, the word ribo. So let the word ribo is ribo present in it. Just like glucose is a sugar, fructose is a sugar, lactose is a sugar, ribose is another sugar. Remember from respiration class.
Yes, sir.
So that is glucose, 6 carbon sugar. Ribose is 5 carbon sugar. And nucleic means now coming to some functional group for what do we say? Acid is COOH. Remember, for any carboxylic acid, it's COOH, the functional group. Remember, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. So DNA is, this is the molecule and this is something about it. So if you understand the term, you understand what it is. So you understand the what. Now, DNA is made like this, just for your reference, and you can make it in your copies. So there is a 5 with the sugar is attached a phosphate group. Okay. This is the P is for phosphate group, and inside comes the base, nitrogenous base, sugar, base, and phosphate. These 3 things make one unit, and this one unit of DNA is called nucleotide. And DNA is like a chain of nucleotides. So like in a chain, if you see a chain, there are small units linked together, right? And they together make a chain. So that's one single monomer or a single unit is nucleotide. It's linked together and it makes chain. So it goes this way, and it also comes from the other side, because about DNA you must have read that it is a double helix structure. Remember this? You know this?
Yeah, helical structure. Yeah.
Yes, double helix. Now the word helix means this is a helix, and the word double helix means there are 2 strands together. Okay, this is a double helix. DNA is double helix. RNA is a single helix. Now, do you know what is RNA? RNA is ribonucleic acid, the one with oxygen. So just because that group is present, it cannot form a double helix structure. It forms a single, it's single. So RNA and DNA. DNA is the genetic material of an organism. RNA can also be a genetic material of certain organisms, but DNA is mostly. Now this DNA, you see this one strand, this is this strand. So in one strand, the backbone of a DNA is formed by sugar and phosphate. You can write down. This comes in entrances. The backbone of a DNA is made up of sugar, which is ribose sugar, plus phosphate. And inside is the nitrogenous bases. So in a DNA, this is your backbone, and with the red, I am trying to make nitrogenous bases. So they come inside, okay, like this. You must have seen this kind of a diagram in your books, right?
Yes.
From both the sides, 2 bases come and form a hydrogen bond. That we will study in detail later. But you understand what is a DNA? It's a long thread of nucleotides. Okay. Now let's come to chromosome. Chromosome is compact form of DNA. Now to explain you better, let me give you an analogy. How many of you have seen thread spools in your home, which our mothers use to sew the clothes? A thread spool, it looks something like this. You seen this?
Yes, sir.
Thread is coiled like this, right, on a spool.
Yes.
So the thread is very long actually. You know, it could be kilometers long, many kilometers long. If you just keep opening the thread, so you take one end and allow the other end to just go, it will go very long. But when we coil it, it can be kept in a very small space. That is called condensed form of thread. Correct?
Yes.
Chromosome is a condensed form of DNA. So DNA is a very long thread. And just to give you a perception how long, what is the average size of any human cell? Any human cell is in micrometers. Okay. RBC being a very big cell, which is around 1 to 7 micrometers. So in micrometers is the length of the cell, the diameter of the cell, correct? And you know, inside one cell, one human cell, what is the length of the total DNA? If you uncoil the total DNA, if you just stretch it like fully uncoil it, what is the length of DNA present in one cell? It is 1.3 meters. Now just imagine, it's very thin also, very, very thin. You cannot see a DNA with a naked eye. If it is a single strand, you can see multiple strands clubbed together. I don't know if your school did this or not, but schools often do this experiment in biology where they extract DNA from banana or any fruit or any tissue.
Yeah, strawberry we did. Yeah.
You did? From strawberry?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you see at the end, something very glushy comes out, like a lot of things. It looks like a,
Yeah, whitish color.
yes, whitish threads stick together. They are millions and millions of DNA threads stuck together. That's why you can see it. Okay. So one thread is very thin, and all the DNA present in one cell is 1.3 meters, which somehow is compacted and placed in a cell which is just micrometers in length. So you can imagine that there is a compaction at a very, very greater detail, correct? Just like this thread. So to wind a thread, to make a thread spool, you need a base, right? Like this cardboard base here on which we start coiling the thread. Similarly, to make chromosomes, we need to coil DNA over something. So we use proteins. And these proteins are called histone proteins. Just you should know the names. Histone proteins.
Sir, is albumin one of the proteins? Albumin?
Albumin.
Yeah.
Albumin is a normal protein present in our body. It is not present in DNA. Okay. In DNA, it is histone proteins. And over these histone proteins, the DNA is wrapped. So there are multiple proteins over which multiple DNA lengths are wrapped, and then they are all compacted together, one over the other, they are stacked. And that stacking, there are multiple layers of condensation, and then finally there is a chromosome. So protein is histone proteins on which DNA is wrapped or condensed, you can say. So you understand what is a chromosome? It is basically a thread spool of a DNA. Okay. So chromosome looks something like this. In the center, it has a kinetochore and it has two arms, right? And everything of this is a DNA coiled on proteins. So you understand what is a chromosome? It is just DNA coiled on proteins and compacted together. Make sense?
Yes.
No confusion from now onwards between DNA and chromosome?
Okay.
No?
No.
Okay. Beautiful. So and mitosis. Okay. So in the next class, I will start with the asexual mode first, and then we'll go to sexual mode. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically in today's class, which was a foundational, we learned something about how you have to be in the class, what you need to do. We started with reproduction, the basic definition of it, direct, indirect development, egg laying, birth, the significance, types, asexual and sexual. And we realized that in asexual, there is no fusion of gametes. In sexual, there is fusion of gametes, but still this part is not complete. I will come to details of it. Even the definitions are not given yet. I'll do that in the next class. We went on to understand gamete, the basics of DNA and chromosome. Okay. So it's time for me to end the class. It will be 1.5 hours. So your classes will basically be 2 hours after the Ramzan, after Eid. Okay. Till Eid, it is 1.5 hours. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So have blessed Ramzan, everyone, both of you. And
Yes, sir.
see you in the next class, day after tomorrow. I hope you like the class. You like the way like these classes will be conducted. My classes will be conducted. If you have any feedback, you can give it to me. If you have any doubts, you can ask me right now.
Sir, can you give me your WhatsApp number if possible?
Yes. If you need
WhatsApp
to
or
ask
Telegram?
anything, yes, this is my
Yeah.
number 98-103-50 803. Just drop me your name and your like batch, like just biology, NEET, 12th class, and you can contact me here. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. See you in the next class. Bye, Hiba. Bye, Zed. Take care.
Thank
Keep
you,
you
sir.
well. And I hope biology is going to be fun. Bye.